Tuesday feels weird because I typically don't go live on Tuesdays, especially on an agent first summit. So every Tuesday I have a summit with my team and their guests, and that's at 10 a.m. Central. So we do need to go quickly in our live stream today, as it's 9 a.m. Central today. But we have more than plenty of time to talk about podcasting and how to actually make it work for your business and how to get started within a day. So the reason that I wanted to make this video was there's several reasons, but mostly I just want to demystify the podcasting world to you, because you may be seeing podcasts every which way, but just aren't sure what it actually takes to create one. And whenever I found out, it was it was shocking to say the least. It was shocking how simple it is to create a podcast. So I want to really share the entire blueprint to you. But first, before we get to that, as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. That would be fantastic. I want to make sure that everybody is here that needs to be here. Let me refresh this. Alrighty, great. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about podcasting. Why you even want a podcast? Number one, it is a great passive way to generate real estate leads. It's a great passive way to do really any type of marketing. So it doesn't only have to be to real estate industry. It can be to any industry, whether you are in plumbing, whether you are in HVACs, whether you are in sales, insurance, whatever. We're talking about everything. Podcasting is a great medium for you to generate business for your products or your services, and it's a passive way. Whenever you create your podcast, once you load it up and you'll see exactly how to do that here in a couple of minutes. Once you load it up, you can set it and forget it. It's very similar to YouTube in that sense, because when you upload it, the heavy lifting is done. You're done at that point. Now it becomes now it's a struggle of distributing. Now it's a struggle of drawing attention to it, because it will get picked up by people that are searching for, assuming that you did your homework ahead of time and understanding your audience and all that fun stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit. Another benefit of podcasting is that it establishes authority for you, meaning that it gives you the opportunity of bringing on guests that you never would have had access to, because podcasting is still novel. Podcasting is still a great way for individuals to spread their message. So whenever you're inviting a influencer or somebody of influence, or somebody that you never really thought you had an opportunity to speak with or engage with, the moment that you invite them to your podcast, that's a different story. It's another way to connect with you offering them access to your audience. So it's not a, hey, can I get 15 minutes of your time? It's none of that. You actually provide something to the table and provide something to an individual that might not have spoken to you or engaged with you prior to that invite. So great. It's a great authority builder for you. So with that being said, before you get started, and we're going to go through the entire structure of how to do that right here, right in front of your eyes. Before we get started, I want you to do yourself one huge favor and identify your audience and what you're going to talk about. So again, identify your audience and what you're going to talk about. That is going to provide clarity for you, and it's going to, most importantly, attract the individuals that you want watching altogether. It's going to attract the people that you want to be doing business with. Again, if it's for the service side, if it's for the product side, whatever it happens to be, it is totally up to you. It is something that will help you get that clarity for yourself as well, where you know what types of guests to bring on, where you know what type of content to provide, instead of just being so sporadic and talking about this one week and then talking about that the next week, then talking about that the next week. It becomes a bit problematic if you don't know who you're speaking to. So just having that clarity is going to help, again, attract your audience, but most importantly for you, it's going to give you that understanding of who you're speaking to, so you can really dial in your message. So again, understand your audience and understand the content that you're going to produce is going to provide such clarity for you. So just want to make sure that we're on the same page when it comes to that. And one quick tip on that, because it can go so many different ways, but one quick tip that I want to share with you on identifying your audience and identifying your content is make it content that you enjoy. Make it content that you are a fan of. Make it you're recording content. Don't make this a chore. This is an additional thing that you can do. You can see it as a hobby or you can see it as a business. It's up to you, but it's something that you get to do. This is another modality of reaching out to your clients. So I'll give you one example. A lot of us are real estate professionals that are watching this channel, and if you make it about for you realtors out there, just follow me on this for a quick second. And whatever industry you happen to be in, just slot in your particular profession, and then you have the same formula. So for real estate agents, you can choose to make content all about the real estate world. You can talk about the market. You can talk about how to buy a house. You can talk about how to sell a house. You can talk about all that real estate stuff. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. However, you need to understand that the audience, the turnover rate for your audience is high. That means that people that enter your world of real estate education, of buying a home, of selling a home, whenever they enter your world, they're not in there for a long run. They're not in there to stay and be your audience forever. They're coming into your world because chances are they saw your blog, they saw your YouTube channel, or they saw your podcast being referenced somewhere else, and then they landed on your podcast, were engaged with the content, and are there understanding a little bit more about what's happening in the real estate market because they have that need. So again, they were looking to buy or they were looking to sell, and then they stumbled upon your podcast in some capacity. They listened for a few episodes, and then what's going to happen after they purchase, they're done with you. So they used you for the information, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, but just have that understanding and have that clarity. If you're going to make that content only about buying and selling, then you're going to have passerbys. You're going to have those people that are going to come through and get the information and go on their way. So just have that understanding. Will you get clients? Yes, of course, that's going to happen, but you're going to have to work a lot harder in bringing in people, and then you have to work in even harder, which by the nature of your content, it becomes impossible, of retaining those individuals, because once they know how to buy a house, once they know how to sell a house, and they have that need met, chances are they're not sticking around. Chances are that they're not going to stick around. So just have that understanding as you're selecting your content and what you're going to talk about. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but just have that understanding and be a realist from day one on what to expect from your podcast. Now, if you turn it more to an interest level content, so if you talk about interests that you have, whether that's golfing, well, golfers are going to always be interested in golf. They're going to want to perfect that slice, want to perfect that hook, talk about the new equipment, talk about the tournaments going on, talk about X, Y, and Z. So that's more of an interest-based audience. If you have an interest in poker, if you have an interest in X, Y, and Z, you can talk about different parts of, you can talk about entrepreneurship. You can talk about anything that you want, anything that's of interest to you, and then you always bring you with you. So what that means is as you're covering any topic, as you're interviewing any guest, as you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, then you're going to bring yourself with you through real life examples. So you can be talking about basket weaving, whatever it happens to be, and inform people that you're a real estate agent, but that is you bringing you with you. So people are going to get to know you, get to know what you're about, and really feed into your brand because they want to do business more with you because they have that familiarity. But if you focus your content on an interest or something that is in there that is pleasant to you, something that you enjoy, the likelihood of you sustaining that audience is much higher because one, you are going to bring a lot more to the table with that energy and you're not going to see it as a job. But beyond that, you're going to have people that stick around for a while because they're not here just because they need a transaction in time. They're not here to find out how to get pre-qualified and then go on about their day. They're here for the long run. So they're here to listen to what you have to say about golfing, about entrepreneurship, about investing about whatever, something that it can be seen as eternal or at least an extended period of time, so you retain your audience a lot longer, as opposed to a couple of weeks while they're trying to get their finances in order and then they bounce because they purchased a home. So that's just one example from the real estate industry. Regardless of the industry that you're in, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind where you bring yourself with you, and that's ultimately the goal. So you're gonna kind of see that here in exhibit today on what that actually looks like to get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. As you're coming in, a like is gonna go a long way, and we're gonna go ahead and share the screen so you see everything that you're going to need. Since it's audio, it's important to understand that you need to record audio. It's that simple. You don't have to do a video. Several of you know that I have a podcast already with Joseph Gonzalez, a good friend of mine, and we talk about real estate marketing. And we happen to do a simulcast of broadcasting here on YouTube and broadcasting on our Facebook pages, but also we record the podcast in real time. So while we're simulcasting, we're recording it and then just taking the audio and uploading it, doing a little bit of editing, and then uploading it onto the platform, and it becomes a podcast. So we triple dip basically. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and then it becomes a podcast. You can do the same thing, but you don't have to. What's important for you is the audio, because podcasting is an audio-based strategy. So that's what it is. A podcast is audio. So notice that you don't have to do a video component to it if you don't want to. Now, with that being said, let's talk about what you actually need to deploy this strategy. And you're going to see how simple it is. This is what blew me away, how simple it was to get started, where a good friend of mine, Matt Velasquez, just broke it down for me in its most simplistic form. And I executed on it pretty much the next week. So it was very, very simple to do. But now you can create a podcast literally in one day. And you're going to see how simple it is to do right now. And in the future, I'll probably record a video, because I will be doing another podcast and creating another podcast, and I'll show you the entire process even further. But right now, you're going to see it in action. So I'm going to try to focus on free tools for you. So the most important thing is getting the audio. If you have an iPhone, if you have an Android, it doesn't matter. There are voice memos within your phone right now. So I happen to have an iPhone, so I'm using the voice memo. You can record your podcast on this and just upload it and edit it. That's it. I mean, you don't have to do anything fancy. You can use this to get your audio out. You can speak directly into your phone, and you have something that is of high quality and shareable. Now, if you're doing some interviews, or even if you're not doing interviews, you can always use Skype to record yourself. Now, Skype, it does have the video component, so you can integrate that into your workflow, which is cool. But beyond that, what's important for us is the audio. So Skype is a great way for you to do interviews and record the audio. Zoom is another preferred one of mine. This is actually the same one that Joseph and I use. We use Zoom, and then we use another software called Restream. Everything is going to be linked down below, so you don't have to guess at this. But we use Restream to simulcast to Facebook and on YouTube. So Zoom is what we use. I send him the private link. He logs on. We record the session, and then we just take out the audio. And what I like about Zoom is that it actually brings you the audio in its independent file. So it's pretty neat. Now, Google Meet, this one I have not used. I've only used for to collaborate with my business partner with Describe. So as you know, I have a SaaS company, Describe, DSCRIBE.ai, which does a lot, launches your Facebook ads, has uses artificial intelligence to write property descriptions, uses artificial intelligence to launch the Facebook ads. It uses artificial intelligence to enhance images. It does a lot of things, but we use Google Meet to do that. So to collaborate, since he's on the other side of the world, at least one of my partners is, and then we just use Google Meet. So you can use Google Meet as well. Now, it seems to be the standard at this point, a very common one that people use to not only record but also edit out of is Audacity. So this gives you the opportunity to record and also edit within the platform. So Audacity has gained popularity as podcasting becomes more and more popular, but this one is the gold standard when it comes to podcasting and how you get it recorded and edited. Now, with that being said, you're free to use. When it comes to editing, it's up to you. What you need to do with the editing is most important is remove some hum that you might have on your audio. Remove any parts that you think aren't going to add to the podcast. If you're doing interviews, equalize the voice volume from one from one person to another. So it does happen a lot with Joseph and I, where my audio will actually be way low. So in the editing, my editors have to go and increase and bump up my audio to equalize to his, because he's really good at video. He's really good at audio. I'm not. So I have that deficiency. So our editor has to kind of overcome my deficiency with that. And he does a great job. So from that standpoint, with the editing component, just know that that's what needs to happen. But editing is, again, equalizing, equalizing sound, removing any static, removing any parts of the podcast that you don't want included in there. And then also gives you the opportunity of adding your intro and your outro, and I'll show you where I go to get those. But it's minimal editing for the most part, because most of podcasts are long form, and that's the beauty of podcasts. So you don't have to do retake after retake after retake, unless that's the type of podcast that you want. So any free software that you get with your Mac or with your PC right now is going to work. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the upgrade. Now, this is, again, more of a video-based platform, but I want to show it to you because it works just the same way. And if you decide to use if you decide to do the camera angle or the video in conjunction with the audio, so you can upload it to your YouTube channel or your social media for clips, then you can use an upgraded version like Final Cut Pro or Premiere, which are the standards when it comes to paid subscriptions. Premiere is for PC and Final Cut is for Mac. So just have that understanding. But again, don't think that you have to do it, but just giving you options as you're looking to level up. Now, every single podcast does need to have a cover art, does need to have a cover art, a professional design, because actually the platforms that you'll see right now require that. They're seeking that. And you'll see the process of how to actually get these approved, but they're not expensive. You can scroll through here, just go to Fiverr, go to Podcast Art. And there's a lot. You're gonna recognize a few of these covers, by the way, but they're some really good designs. So mine actually came from this one. This is the individual that I use. So you're gonna kind of see a semblance of this from Joseph in my podcast. But anyway, so cover art is going to be inexpensive. Now, also, you can record an intro and outro. You can do the intro and outro yourself. You don't have to, but you can. So Joseph and I strategically, we selected, actually he's right there. This is who we selected, Nicole. So we wanted a female voice. So, because, it's just two guys speaking on the podcast. So I thought, well, let's get an intro and an outro in a female voice to appeal to that side of the audience. So the intro, we just typed out what we wanted to say, or what we wanted our voice over to say, and she read it very perfectly. So if you go to our podcast, the Agent Lead Source podcast, you're going to hear her voice. So you're going to hear her voice doing the intro, and we just supplied what we wanted her to say, and she could actually do that. Any one of these individuals can actually write it out for you as well. It's going to cost more, but you can do that as well. But we just provided what we wanted for the intro and for the outro. She did a perfect rendition, just crystal clear, and we add that in the editing, so at the beginning and the end, and upload it to the platform. So with that being said, I do want to show you that just like YouTube is the host for our videos, Buzzsprout does the same thing. So Buzzsprout, there's some other competitors out there and I'm actually Googling it, Anchor. Anchor is who I'm thinking about. So Anchor is very, very common. So Anchor, Buzzsprout, there's some others out there that are the hosts. So this is where you go to upload your podcast, and so it's where it lives. So people can actually come here to the Agent Lead Source podcast from Buzzsprout and listen to it. But what this host allows you to do, it allows you to distribute to directories right here. So you can see we're pretty much listed everywhere. So directories is the Apple Podcast, the Spotify's of the world, the Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. So all of these we're in right now. I know it says get listed, but some of these are going to take days. Some of these are going to take weeks to get approved. So I believe it was iHeartRadio that took a while. I can't remember which one. We did this a while back, but it'll ask you to create an account in that particular directory. It's super simple to do. And most of them are so automated that whenever you created an account with Buzzsprout, whenever you created an account with Buzzsprout, you had to put information about what the content was about. You had to put cover art. You had to put the host. You had to put information about the podcast itself. But now it's so automated that whenever you go and apply to be in these directories, it automatically shoots it over to them. So Buzzsprout takes care of 90% of it. There are several directories that you have to do it manually though, but that's okay. So it gives you on the top, it puts you on the top directories out there. So if you're somebody that listens to your podcast on Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Podcast, this is how you distribute it to them. So for you real estate agents, the equivalent that I can give you there is, think of it like uploading a listing onto the MLS where then it syndicates out to Zillow, to Trulia, to Realtor.com. Same concept here. So the Buzzsprout becomes your MLS. So for those of you that are not in that industry, just think of anything that's the centralized location that you can have access to everything else. So it's really that simple. And Buzzsprout allows you to create the what do you call it? A plugin to where your podcast actually shows on your website. So if you go over to my website and you type in, or if you click on podcast, all of the latest episodes appear right here. Right? So it's a plugin, and this is for I don't think that it costs anything. So that's for WordPress, but I don't think it costs anything. All right, so let's talk about structuring your content. And a huge reminder, as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to help send out the notifications to the masses. And as many of you that have watched this channel know, I am a big fan of Trello. So this is no different. Every task in my life at this point has a Trello board, and this is how I do it. So we brainstorm ideas. So we go through and figure out what type of content we want to make. We optimize. So these two are still in optimizing phase. We don't know what we're going to call them yet, but we're optimizing, getting the thumbnails in order, getting the topic that we want to cover. Brainstorming, optimizing the title and everything that we want to accomplish from the podcast. When we script it, that's when we get to the talking points that we want to share and want to really hit succinctly on the podcast. We are very protective of our listeners' time, so we try to make it engaging, we try to make it engagement while entertaining, but at the same time, it's important that we deliver factual information that works. So that's what we take really seriously. So we go into scripting and listing out the points that we want to do. Then we record. So recording for us is we simulcast to Facebook and we simulcast to YouTube. So then we can record. Editing, we send it over to our virtual assistants to get that done. So they equalize that audio like I was mentioning as the intro, as the outro. And then distributing it is putting it onto Buzzsprout and optimizing it there. So at that point, by the time it gets to distribute, the optimization, there's already notes on what needs to happen. So these are the tags that we want. This is the title that we want. These are the keywords that we're after. So at the distribution stage, there's really no guessing. It's just a performance-based task at that point to where our VAs can take over from there. And just one cool little hack, again, my podcast mentor, I would say, has been Matt Velasquez. So he actually owns a radio station down in Houston. So huge shout out to you, Matt. Thank you for the podcast wisdom. He actually turned me on to this little, it's called Plink, PLNK, and then .to. So Plink, it actually is a little it's almost like a link shortener, which it is, but it operates based off of your phone, so, or any platform that you're on. So it gives you the option of listening in on any platform that you want. So you see right here, it gives you the apps that you can listen to from the desktop, because this is what you're seeing, but it will actually give you the way that you listen to your podcast on your phone. So whenever I share this page right here, I'd have to get the URL. This is not the URL. So I'm sorry, yeah, it is Plink t.o/tals, the agent lead source, so TALS. So that's the only link that I have to share, as opposed to sharing my Apple link, my Google link, my Spotify link. This puts it all in one place. So people that listen to the podcast in iHeartRadio, they don't have to go to iHeartRadio. They can just click on that link and they can listen through it through here. People that are podcasters through Apple, same thing here. So this does cost a minimal fee. It was pretty negligible, but I do like the convenience of it. It makes sharing the podcast so much easier, where I don't have to go around and share the Apple link, the Google link, the Spotify link. We're trying to make it as simple as possible so people can actually listen to our podcast. Folks, if you have any questions about the podcasting world, if you have any questions on how to get started,